Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff McKinney with One Integration, and we would like to welcome you to today's conversation on responsible automation and AI in business. This is a part of our Level Up webinar series. Today, we will be joined by our guest, Shaquita Hyman, the fairy tech mother, Cherie, and also Jason Santiago, one of our veterans in automation. Good afternoon, team. How are you today?
Doing really good. Thank you, Jeff, for having us.
Very well. Thank you for invite.
Doing great. Thank you for the invite. Excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, we want to jump in and make sure that we allow for our audience to get to know who we have with us today. As I said before, my name is Jeffrey McKinney. I am the CEO and founder of One Integration. You may also hear me go by the Techpreneur for the people in some different conversations. But today, it's really focused on how can we partner with our community and provide services and tools and education that would allow for everyone to prosper in their purposes and their businesses. I do want to turn over to Shaquita first and allow for her to introduce herself.
Hi, you guys. I am the community CMO for One Integration. I'm really just here today to talk to you guys about automation, something that's really close to my heart, and just how automation can be a tool for helping businesses grow and scale. So, a lot of my background is tied into doing automation with larger corporations, smaller corporations. So here to share some insight with you and hopefully answer some questions and give you guys a way to kind of move forward in your own business.
Fantastic. Jason?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Santiago. I'm the founder and the owner of Heroes Have Wings podcast, FitRev Training, and I'm getting my own public speaking company going as well. Automation has pretty much simplified my life, essentially giving me more time to do more things as an owner. So those are the biggest things. I'm retired from the Army, helicopter pilot, Black Hawk pilot, and now I'm a business owner.
Go Air Force.
Thank you for your service, sir. Okay, and Cherie, last but definitely not least.
I was going to say I have to follow up a Black Hawk pilot, man. That's a tough one to follow. My name is Cherie Dolan. I am your fairy tech mother. I am a resident of One Integration as your trusted advocate and advisor in all things technology.
Fantastic. Well, I want to jump in with our first question for you, Cherie. I have, for our audience, and I have worked very closely together over the last few years in a bunch of different areas. And one thing that I've noticed is she is someone who cares about her clients and her customers, just like generally. And so the question that I have opening up is, why AI? I mean, there's so many things. We can go from Terminator 2 to all of these scary stories or narratives that are projected out about technology. Tell us why. Why is it something that people should even pay attention to?
I think Hollywood's done a fantastic job scaring the tar out of us around everything's AI, right? This is not an iRobot opportunity, but AI's been around for a long time. People just don't realize it. But when you really think of AI, what you need to keep in mind is it's a product, it's a software that you as a human are telling what to do. You are designing it to make your functionality, and Jason hit on this, the functionality of your business, your life easier. So if you think of it in that aspect, AI can't control anything it's not told to control. And I think that that's where a lot of business owners and individuals get complacent when it comes to AI. The terminology is kind of spooky, scary because of all the hype around it. But at the end of the day, if you think about the fact that it's only doing what you're telling it to do, and it can only do what you tell it to do, then it's not as scary. It's more of a companion. right? It's helping you navigate how you can do business more functionally, easier, and also just make your life better. Because I'm sure Jason can even tell you, now that he has all these opportunities that he's juggling, the AI opens up time for him to be able to spend time with his family and still be able to do all those things.
We're actually going to jump in and hopefully Jason will be able to share some of those things that the benefits for him. I do want to acknowledge and give you an opportunity, Sheree, to touch on the risks, the concerns. People think about, what is the most ethical use of AI and how to ensure that? And then if you could touch a bit on, at One Integration, we have what we think of as a responsible approach to leveraging these types of tools. So, if you could touch a bit on that, I think that would be helpful for our audience.
I think with anything, you do have to have a certain level of cybersecurity surrounding it. You have to have your firewalls still. You still have to protect yourself. And AI is no different, right? So that's something first and foremost you want to be able to provide to your business if you are utilizing AI, because security is number one. We always need to make sure that we're taking care of the business at hand by providing a certain level of security. However, again, with AI, it only does what you tell it to do. So I think that it's really important as a IT leader or a business owner that you are making sure that the people that you are putting in charge of your AI product set, that they are, well, first of all, I wouldn't put too many people in charge of that product set, but also that they are responsible, trustworthy folks that, you can rely on, and that they're not going to maybe flip the script, so to speak.
Can I add one part in there too, so a lot of people understand it? Because I know we're going to attach onto automation. I want to tie in that a lot of times the tools that we're looking at, even some of the automation solutions out there, a lot of them already have that built in. So, and I think you'll say that, Sheree, is that we've been utilizing these types of tools for years. We just haven't had the buzzword AI tied to it. So a lot of times when you're tapping into the tools, all you're doing is tapping into, aspects of the tools that allow to improve your job and the process easier. And that's really the way you should look at it. AI is a solution that simplifies some of the processes and takes some of that manual out of it, just like automation is set up to take out the manual aspects of business. The same thing. They work hand in hand a lot of times together.
I would even go as far here just to kind of explain it in layman's terms even, okay? Microsoft Word came out in, this is going to date me, I don't know, like 90, probably 95, maybe even sooner than that. Microsoft Word. All right. Okay. In addition to it, in the product set, eventually it came out under tools with spell check. Mm-hmm. Somebody had to put the information into spell check and download the dictionary into spell check so that it had the knowledge to recognize words that may be spelled incorrectly. That was AI.
Yep.
You told the software what you wanted it to perform, how you wanted it to perform, and then you gave it the ability to make changes with the click of a mouse.
I really love that example and the simplification of that. I want to go to Jason and talk a bit about, from what Shaquita was saying and adding on was that there's all of these capabilities, and what Sheree is saying is that code and software has been around for a long time, and it may just be a new term that may be applied to some of the older concepts. With of course, newer technology and capabilities. For you, Jason, what is business automation as you thought about how to use these tools rather than just saying, okay, I want to go out and apply all AI? How do you define that?
So for me, I had to figure out what was going to be the best way for me to streamline my sales process. So the first thing I had to do was Harvard did a study. They realized that if you contact a lead within 5 minutes, that your likelihood of closing that lead has increased exponentially. So I had to figure out, with my team continuously being on the floor working, what process can I implement to reach that 5-minute timeline? And automation is what helped me with that whole process. So lead drops in, it automatically sends out a message. It also, now with AI, it could even call if it needs to. So what it essentially does is it frees up the staff and the people to do the people work, touching the members, making sure the members got everything they need. And then the AI and the automations do all the back end work, the communication. And when I say communication, I'm talking about the first touch communication. Once we reach that member or the potential member, then we take over from there and put the human touch on it.
So it sounds like you actually got a pretty ironed out process here. At what point was it like your aha moment to say, yep, I need to go full-fledged into this and really build this into my business operations?
My aha moment was when I started creating Facebook ads and I started getting a lot of leads, and I realized that one person or my team at the time couldn't handle all those leads. And when I say handle all those leads, they couldn't call people fast enough, they couldn't text fast enough, and it was just getting overwhelming for my team. So I realized what was the kink in the flow of reaching out to the member, and that was one of them. So automation pretty much streamlined that process.
So as it relates to, you sound like a businessman that had a pretty good handle on the data supporting the decisions that you were making. Any specific detail or lever that you pull that impacted your conversion rates that you can share with us?
The biggest one was, like I said initially, that 5-minute time frame. I realized that, especially in the gym industry and the fitness industry, comparable to a lot of industries that are saturated, if you do not reach that member or that potential customer, the moment they're interested, they'll just go on to the next. So that's what made me really have to pull that lever and say, you know what, we need automation, because if we don't reach out to them, they'll send out a text message. And I'm pretty sure all of us on this call could relate to that. We wanted something at a moment. If someone didn't respond back, we just went to the next place. So that was very important. I knew that if we didn't touch those people or get a hold of them, had some type of contact with them within that 5 minutes, they'll just go down that Google list, because everybody's going to Google it, and they're just going to go down that list from top to bottom.
And I think another thing too, if I could add on to that. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, go for it.
Another thing that I was going to add on to that is that it's going to your point, that's one of the many ways that we can use automation, right, is after the lead. So I'm assuming that as soon as the form was in, it sent them a communication or something like that, whether it was a text message or some other type of message that went to them to let them know that you're actually engaged, and then allow you to follow up so that your team can focus on what I would consider hot leads, correct? So where it was one of those situations where you're really investing time. And so that's where automation gets really good, where it allows you to communicate with, these potential clients, and then really focus your efforts on those that are closer to closing a deal. And so when you're talking to someone now, they've already engaged in some level of content, whether it's an email, whether it's a text message, and they're more ready to take an action because of what you put in place. So almost, I always say, like a journey. I always tell people, when you're doing automation, it sounds so technical, but really what you're doing is continuing a conversation with a potential client.
So one of the things with working so closely with all of you guys, especially Shaquita, I come to notice is she has a way of simplifying things, and she always is able to kind of talk about really, really particular to a client how these things apply to them, and she's able to get there really, really fast. That is a gift. And not many people have it. One of the things I see personally throughout my experience is that most people make a lot of assumptions, and they just try to deploy whatever the buzzword is, machine learning, AI, automation, whatever the case is. Shaquita, can you share in your experience what some of the common mistakes and pitfalls the audience should watch out for if they're going to go down this path without us?
Okay. And then I'll say, I'll tap into Jason after that so that he can kind of, jump in on here. I would say the first thing is if you're not beginning with the end in mind, like you literally have to have a idea of what action you want that person to take. And you have to have thought out that entire journey. So if you're starting to build out a journey or what some people might call a workflow, if you're not actually taking into account what that experience needs to look like for the person that's going into that, and that could be your sales rep. So let's not, look at it this. It could be an internal workflow that's helping out your team. It could be external workflow that's helping out, bringing someone through a customer experience. But you have to begin with the end in mind. You have to know what you're asking that person to do at the end of the day. And you have to make sure that process is very simple, to the point, and is easy for them, right? Even if it's very complicated on the back end side, it needs to come off very simple for the actual targeted audience.
Very
Jason,
Go ahead, please.
I was going to say, Jason, do you have anything to add on that one?
No, I completely agree. One of the biggest obstacles that I faced with building out my whole workflow process was I didn't want it to sound too, for lack of better words, too fake, because I know people they're familiar with automations now, they're familiar with AI. And I think the public may be getting slightly turned away from it, because one thing I realized, we can't take the human touch out of human interaction. No matter what happens, no matter where we go in life, human interaction is very important. So what I've realized with my workflows, I try to make the flow seem as human as possible. Now, with regulations and with the way the government has implemented the way we text people and call people, obviously we have to put, the stop on our text messages and things like that. But I really realized that I have to make sure this feels human-like. If not, we will get stops all day. People will disengage and they won't like it.
Yeah, so what tools have been, or platforms have been game changers for you, Jason, as you built this out and started to apply this?
Well, when I first started off, I didn't know about Go High Level. So I was doing simple things using Zapier, which is still good. But right now, the best one I use that's a one-stop shop for everything is Go High Level. From Go High Level, I funnel out to, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, those other platforms as well, but they're fully integrated with each other. So it does make the process pretty streamlined.
Fantastic. Quita, with that.
Well, I would say that, a lot of times for those of you guys who are not used to this, and if you need some help, what I would actually recommend is that we actually have a tool called the Business Amplifier. And the Business Amplifier, in addition to giving you the ability to be able to build out workflows, One Integration itself comes in and helps you with the overall process. Because, it's great to have a tool, but not knowing how to utilize that tool, or the best way to take advantage of that can then come back and bite you. So I always say that it's very important to team up with a company that is going to kind of walk you through it. And we might, at least get you set up in a way that you're actually taking advantage of it. Nobody, and I've been and worked with large corporations, the worst thing you can do is have a solution with all these capabilities and you're sitting on those capabilities and not using them. And I know you've seen that too, Cherie, right? People investing in tools and only using 20% of what that tool is capable of, then you're spending money for nothing.
Yep. Absolutely. And I would even say it's just a lack of education because of time. But with One Integration, you don't have to worry about that, because you have realistically, you have somebody holding your hand. It's a partner in the solution. So.
And to add to that, I think people get bombarded with the capabilities.
Yes, they do.
And I try to tell people, keep the KISS principle to this. Keep it simple. Learn, be great at something, and then come to somebody like One Integration to help you with the other things. Because from my experience working on these things, it is a lot of work. And you need a team behind you to do it, because one person doing it, they could do it. It's just going to take more time.
Right.
And a lot of research, Jason, because I would give you kudos, hats off to you. You did a lot of that research, but not everybody has the time, the flexibility, or the willingness to put in that much effort to some of the stuff that you have put in, yourself to get that working.
It was more willingness than anything, because I definitely didn't have the
time. Jason's like, help me, help you.
Yes. So you can be one to say for sure, having someone who supports you helps you to avoid common mistakes. That would be a huge one, because you can go out and do it on your own, but you're going to have to deal with some learning, and learning isn't a bad thing, but you could waste time where you could be actually, reaping the benefits much quicker.
Well, and Chiquita, too, think of it this way. When you have somebody in an AI or an IT space, or a business owner for that instance, those folks know their business. They don't necessarily want to learn something else.
That's true.
I mean, why venture out when you're really good at, owning a business and knowing how it works. So
yes. I love marketing, but I don't want to know anything about cars. So
Exactly. Perfect.
My experience has been that you live on both ends of that street. You have clients that are able to be like Jason and very heavy on self-service, and then you have clients on the other end that are saying, "Hey, I don't know what I don't know, and so help me." And then there's a bunch of clients in the middle. Most of them are willing to try some things and maybe fail or be ineffective at them. But it's really, really difficult without any perspective to know how you're doing at all. That's really the challenge. And so, when we're talking about like really the difference in one integration is that we're here to serve both ends of that street, if that makes sense. If you have the know-how, then we have the tools to be able to allow you to be self-service, kind of like we do with momentum training, youth training. And then if you're just beginning, you don't know what you're doing, then you hand it over to a CMO and Jason and the Fairy Tech Mother, and they make sure that one integration goes in a direction that Jeff didn't know how to do. And so we're basically saying that as an entrepreneur, your job is to know your purpose and know your lane, and then we want to surround you with very, very competent what we call catalysts that are here to play a role in your business and your purpose to support you. And so one of the things I want to jump to, because I see so much of so many entrepreneurs that are saying, I have a business, I have an email address, I have a website, and I have some level of results. But then when we go to look at it, we can see areas of opportunities. So what role or what opportunity do you think, just generally speaking, workflows play in creating an optimized business or business results for an entrepreneur?
I think it's across the board, right? Everything from welcoming your customer to your business. I think it goes back to what Jason says. You want to be able to utilize these tools, but you want to be able to still feel human. And one of the best ways to do that is making sure that when you're creating these workflows or these journeys, that you're coming from a place of authenticity. That's always been something big for me. But I would say everything from just letting people know that you're happy that, they did business with you for the first time. We all like a sense of gratitude. That in itself, a welcome series for someone saying, thank you for doing business with me, goes a long way. And on top of that, that same communication can be used to let them know that you have another deal coming up or another opportunity. So you can take that as a moment of gratitude and turn that into a cross-selling moment. So I would say things like that. Other things is that you sometimes have customers who have done business with you in the past, but they have not done business with you in a while, right? I remember when I was at Boeing, we called them our zombies. people that we had done work with, but somehow they went dead on us. And we actually started off an automated campaign where we said if they had not engaged with us within a certain period of time, that we were going to start to send them communications. Hey, we miss you. We didn't say that because it was boring, but with the general idea of come back with us. We might have some other things that you might be interested in. And then we also use it as a tool for efficiency. If we saw that they didn't respond after a certain window, we use it as is taking it as maybe they're no longer with the business. And then we were able then to use it to clean up our databases. So all of those were workflows and automations that we put in place that had multiple purposes that we put in there. So I would say across the board, you can use it to scale and grow your business.
If I can chime in too, you had mentioned it's a great way to reach out and touch the client, but it's a great way to reach out and touch your employees too.
100%.
Right?
Yes, it is.
And let's face it, in the world we live in, happy employees stay where they're at. And a little bit of gratitude goes a really long way. So if you have the ability to, do a survey on the back end in one of your call centers, they get one of Jason's hot leads and they do a great job and they score 5 stars. How cool would it be if your business could turn around and congratulate them and shoot it out to everybody on the floor? Those things, that little bit of gratitude for a job well done goes so far in this business, in this space.
I'll tell.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I'll tell a story. I was working at a company in which I didn't have a great time working there, but one of the things that stood out to me was that the global sales lead or whatever his title was on, I think it was like my birthday or something like that, actually sent a note that appeared to be from him. And this was 2021-ish. And so it was a very large company that didn't really do these types of things. And so it almost felt like, to your point, Jason, like it was personal, like it was something that he actually took the time to do. Sheree, you're talking about gratitude going a long way. And I responded to it and was like, hey, look, this is something you should do more of. I noticed this feels different. And it was, like you said, it was something that I'm sure was automated with the data that they already have about the employees. And it was just a simple
it was thoughtful.
Yeah, it was a thoughtful gesture. So I agree on all those points. I do want to give Jason this last question. I think we're going on specific to business process and automation. What's one workflow that you cannot live without?
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh, that is a good question. The first one, like I said, that initial contact and reaching out to a potential customer, that one I potentially can't live without, because if I don't have new customers coming in, then I have no money. So that right there is very important. This is why I've spent a lot of time making sure it flows well. It's, like I said earlier, the human touch and those type of things. Another thing I want to add is something I can't live without is what the ladies were saying earlier. One thing automation does is it reduces the workload on my team members as well. For example, booking appointments, sending out automated emails just by doing one thing, all this because everybody's bombarded and everybody has a lot of things going on in their minds. With automation, it covers those shortcuts for them. So they don't miss them, like completing tasks. Like I said, sending out emails, reminders, text reminders, email reminders. We could go on and on all day about this. So not only does it help the business owner, it does help team members be happy, because it will simplify their processes, and it would just reduce their workload as well.
Can I say it also helps you stay on brand, right? When you have these templates and everything like that, and make sure that the message is consistent across your team. Jason, would you say that?
Correct. And branding is very important. That's something I didn't know when I first started about 6-7 years ago, how important consistency is. Making things, we want to, in our minds, we want to change things, make it look better, but you have to stay consistent with your branding. If not, the customer will get lost.
Yeah, I know that firsthand with the world of the techpreneur for the people and One Integration over the last 4 or 5 years has been birthing of several brands and personas and all these different things, and it just created this environment of somewhat confusion to many people. But it was a necessary journey for me to kind of learn and also have the opportunity to have so many products and services to be able to meet a business owner's goals. I do want to jump over to LinkedIn, and I'll ask you, what are your thoughts around leveraging these types of tools in that environment?
Well, I would say in the same way that, automation has made a dent in just scaling your business in general. LinkedIn is probably one of the best platforms. I would say the best platform outside of, I would say, One Integration. So I'm gonna throw a plug in there, but for B2B businesses. And within that, it holds a lot of data, and data is key to automation, right? So if you think about the wealth of information that LinkedIn has, it has everything down to the job title, to how large a company is, to how many employees it has in there. It is a wealth of information. Now, if you layer that with the right tool, you can actually create really unique journeys and automation that will not only drive out, increase your connections and your relationships so that more people are actually able to see what you're pushing out on LinkedIn, but it can also be used as a lead tool. So just like you're utilizing platforms like the One Integration Business Amplifier, you can use platforms like the Sales Amplifier, where you literally can go in there, build out these journeys, connect with other people authentically, and use that as a way to help them learn more about you, what you have, and build, genuine relationships.
So how do you balance like automation and authenticity in a space like that?
I would say that it really boils down to the content and how you set it up. I mean, it comes down to the message. Nobody wants to feel sold to, right? And so I think if we start off with this idea of let's just connect and find out where there's synergy, or, more so we're taking the listen approach, or how can I serve you, how I can help you. That approach, I think, is more well received than, hey, I have this fancy product or this fancy solution. So I think if you can come with a level of education, like here's something that might be helpful to you. Can we just, maybe can I learn more about you? Or, is there a way that I can help you? Or just genuinely caring to get to know that person and what they're doing, then that opens the door to everything else, because relationships is still the core of everything that we do. Automation just makes it easier.
100% agree. I do want to pause and give Sharia a moment to add in here. She's a LinkedIn rock star. When you go on there, the algorithm, she somehow figured out how to earn its favor. And so if you could add something on that maybe just came to mind while you were kind of listening to LinkedIn automation, and really, even
Did
if
you
it's
see
a
the hamsters?
no, I didn't. I just know.
No, I
I
completely 100% agree. I have over 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, and they're not just followers just because they're sheep and they think I have a pretty face or whatever the case is, right? They're there because there's some value add in my profile. And I think that that's really important. I like to educate them on different types of technology that are available. I completely agree with making sure that your brand is human, right? Every single person, and y'all don't bombard me all at one time, please, but every single person that does connect with me, I do send you a note, thanking you, hand typed by my little fingers, thanking you for connecting with me and, trying to engage, not trying to sell you on anything. I think that human aspect of it is more important than any other part of it, because at the end of the day, I have several people that aren't even in my industry, aren't even in my space, but we may meet each other at some point. They may have a question that I can answer, and vice versa. So the network itself is just really, really, it's a great option to have available, but people aren't going to connect with people that aren't real.
I think I even put on the message because I have something that goes out automated, honestly, but I automate like these messages on there. So utilizing our tool, right? But today's message actually went out that something around if you serve, the sales would come, right? If you lead with that type of attitude, the sales would come, right? I firmly believe that. So, no matter what, again, the tools are in our control. It goes back to what you, Cherie, said. They're tools that are at the hands of a human. We just have to remember that. I think that's really important.
Yeah, in the tools, most times they're my response to the current environment was to create one integration and all the social services. One of them being social media. Shaquita, you were mentioning that just a moment ago. Jason and sure you guys have both referenced it in past answers. But the one reason why I bring this up is it wasn't to leave LinkedIn. That wasn't the answer. The answer was to add a place that would allow for us to go, if we choose, to evolve beyond LinkedIn to one integration with social media, where we can have that authentic, real-time connection, kind of like what we're doing right now. Yeah. Kind of like May 25th, we'll be having an in-person level up event in Frisco, Texas. You'll learn more about those types of things, but that's the whole purpose, is to be able to say, hey, here are all the platforms and tools. Let's not abort any of them. Let's actually just figure out how we are going to maximize and amplify our impact, which is our purpose, inside of all of these different platforms. Because to your point, Shaquita, LinkedIn is an ocean of data and people and connections. And right now, they're all sharing whatever sentiments behind an algorithm that just doesn't explain itself. And whenever people do figure it out, it is subject to change after that. And so beware of anyone who is saying that they understand the algorithm, because I don't believe that is a part of the corporate credence, is to sit back and tell people exactly how the algorithm works. And so that's the reason why we take a different approach of saying we're inside the algorithm, but we also want to give you a place, if you choose to connect with us authentically, then you can. So I do want to, this is a great conversation, more and more of these to come. I do want to give everyone an opportunity to tell us, what is one piece of advice you'd give to a business leader who's hesitant about integrating automation or AI, and how can they do so responsibly? Jason, I'll
go
start
first
with you.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned as a business leader is, number one, you have to be the business leader or business owner. You being the owner alone is a lot of work. There's a lot of back end things you have to do. There's a lot of not managing, but leading. You lead people. I think you manage operations. So there's a lot of leading that you have to do with people. You have to just having people buy into your vision is a full-time job alone. So as the owner, with that said, you have a lot going on. The next thing I would do is you have to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And you have to be okay with that, because these are the people that are going to get you further in life. I realized that I only could get myself to a certain point before I needed more help. So I would identify those people right offhand, and then start asking them, and get a business coach as well. A business coach will keep you. When you become a business owner, you become very lonely, because there will be a separation from the business owner and the team. There will always be that separation. And I think it's good and healthy for every business owner to have a coach or other entrepreneurs that they could at least pour in, just have a simple conversation. So those are the three things I would do. Understand you're the business owner and understand your role. You have to build a company, lead your people, manage operations. The second thing is you have to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And then the third thing, get a coach.
Wow. To me, it sounds like join one integration, then join one integration again, and then double down and join one integration a third time. Quita, I'll toss over to you as well. What is one piece of advice you give to a business leader who's hesitant about integrating automation and or AI, and how can they do that responsibly?
Honestly, that you don't have a choice. I can't get it any plainer than that. If you want to scale and you want to grow in the years to come, you have to tap into the tools that other people are tapping into. Otherwise, you're not going to be competitive. Because at the end of the day, it's a competitive market. And to be competitive, you have to be utilizing the tools that are going to be used to help others scale. And so, unfortunately, there's no choice out there. But what I can say, in addition to that, if you are struggling with that, it's not your space. Understand that you don't have to do it alone. Find the resources, like what Jason said. Team up, become part of a community like One Integration, where you can get the resources for people that are familiar with it, that will help you down that path, so you're not having to walk that path by yourself. I'm a firm believer that we're never intended to walk this life alone. Whether that's in business, personal life, any way, shape, or form, we're intended to be able to do that together. And this is no different than that. But my honest opinion, you don't have a choice. If you want to be competitive, you have to start looking at automation and AI and all those solutions as a must-have, not a nice-to-have, or maybe I will, can kind of bypass and keep doing things the same way I've done it before.
Well, we started with Cherie. We will end with Cherie. And so, Cherie, what's one piece of advice you could give a business leader who's hesitant about integrating automation and AI, and how can they do that? And I'll say it a little bit different. How can they do that responsibly?
Well, I'm going to piggyback on what Chiquita and Jason both said. I actually have 3 points. Get yourself a trusted advisor. They know more than you think they do. This is what we study on a regular basis, right? And so finding somebody that is comfortable with you and talking through your business and figuring out how your business operates is really, really important, because those people are going to point you in the right direction to some of those different software platforms. The other thing is don't be afraid to ask questions. Right? The only way we learn is if we ask questions. So if you're not comfortable with something, or maybe you just don't understand something, ask the question. And thirdly, I would say do your own research. Even if you don't have time to devote to research, I mean, maybe ChatGPT can help you out, right? You can ask. But do your own research, so that way you can have that peace of mind, and, bring it back to your trusted advisor over at One Integration.
Thank you.
Fantastic. I thank you all for giving so cheerfully to our audience and to our community. You guys are here every day serving, and so I really appreciate that. I do want to say that when I was sitting on the back patio and I wasn't really feeling all that well about the future, it was the idea of being able to build a place where I knew, to Jason's point, isolation is a really big problem, where I knew that we would be addressing the issue of isolation. And, I felt like the way to get others to participate was to invite them to offer their purpose. And so if you got all of the people who were focused on purpose, who may be feeling isolation or understanding that is not, that is something they should prepare for, and we were able to effectively convey that, hey, this is a place for you to come and connect. And so we can assure you that when you need some support, that Cherie, she will pick up. Chiquita will pick up. Jason will pick up. Jeff will pick up. And the people inside of our community will pick up. That turned out to be One Integration, and we have these types of resources and these types of people with these types of hearts that are here looking to serve in their own capacity. So thank you all. Outside of One Integration with social media, let's share with our audience where they can connect with you. Jason, I'll start with you.
You can find me on all platforms. YouTube. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. For the podcast, it's Heroes Have Wings. Type it in, it'll pop up. For For the speaking company, it's the JS Lifestyle. And for the gym, it's Fit Rev Training on all platforms.
Fantastic. Shaquita?
Well, you can find me on One Integration. Just look under Community Catalyst. You can find me underneath there. It has all my social links on there. You also can find Jason on there too. So
I was just going to say that.
For him as well. If you want to get connected to him, you can actually get connected to him. He's one of our Community Catalysts. We are always looking for experts who can come in, because especially those who are willing to share and educate, because as Cherie said, education is important.
Cherie, where can we find you out in these social media streets?
I am a community catalyst as well. So you can absolutely find me on One Integration under Community Catalyst, but you can also find me as the Fairy Tech Mother on LinkedIn.
And I do love the Fairy Tech Mother. I love that term.
A client gave it to me, so it's stuck.
That one was that's priceless. So again, thank you everyone. This has been the One Integration Level Up series. You could anticipate seeing these. You can find them on our events page if you want to see what the schedule looks like going forward. You can also find our in-person events, as well as our TechTok events, where we focus on technology enrichment and also opportunities for us to come out and partner with you in your business in the technology space. With that said, we are going to sign off for today. Thank you so much for joining. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.